Sage Wanderer here, and welcome to my van down by the river. Merry Christmas! It's a Christmas day today, and I catch a lot of flack sometimes about releasing dark videos on festive holidays. So like on Mother's Day, I think I did an adrenochrome video. And then on Christmas Eve, I talked about EMP versus grid down survival. And so I thought I would offer you a cute little Christmas story from my own past. So this is the story of the time I experienced a series of Christmas miracles that kind of saved not just my Christmas, but my family and our well-being. And so we'll take you back in time a little bit. My kids that are now grown were younger children. I think my daughter was 12 and my son was 15 when this occurred. She might have been 13 and 16, something like that. But at any rate, I was in a bad relationship. I don't talk too much about my second marriage, and I will. Trust me, I will talk about it. It's, it's one for the record books. But, you know, it was an on-again, off-again 4-year relationship. Our marriage only lasted 3 months, but we lived together before we got married. We lived together after we got married, and it was just one of those toxic relationships. But I think she walked out on me a total of 16 times. On the 17th time, I walked away from her. And, but this was one of those times that she left me right at Christmas. Now, it was right when I'd injured my knee the first time. So this would have been like 2011, something like that. And he says as he rubs his now other broken knee. But I just hurt my knee, and I had a job where I was on my feet all the time, and I was just in agony. And she convinced me that it would be okay if I quit my job and I could just do the playing music on the weekends thing and let my knee heal, because it was never going to heal as long as I was walking on it on tile floors all day long for 8 and 10 hours a day. And so I trusted her, and I quit my job. And we were going to rely on her money for Christmas. So I had enough money, from child support, because my ex paid me child support, and from my honky-tonk gigs to pay the rent and the bills, and we were going to rely on her money. She said she'd fork up the money for a nice Christmas for the family. And so I was utterly reliant upon her. And 3 weeks before Christmas, about 4 weeks, right after Thanksgiving, she walked out on me and left me high and dry. And my bills were paid, thank goodness, but there was no money for groceries. There was no money for Christmas. And there was no prospect for work for me. And I was injured. And so to say it was a tough time is an understatement. To say I was freaked out is an understatement. How I forgave her and did another run with her later on, I can't tell you. It was addiction. What can I say? It was just pure and simply, we were addicted to each other. But I just didn't make enough money for her. That was her thing. She kept breaking up with me and chasing rich men. She finally caught one, she did. Very rich guy. Old and more broke down than I am now, for sure. But, yeah, we won't talk about that anymore. Let's get back to the miracle. So, she's gone. There is no tree. We'd always gotten a traditional Christmas tree and, paid money to go out and get a regular Christmas tree. It was kind of a tradition for us. We did not have a fake tree. And so I had to sit the kids down along about the first part of December and go, okay, kids, our bills are paid. I'm going to do what I have to do to make sure we get fed. So you're safe. Don't worry about being safe. You're safe. But Christmas, we're probably not going to have one. I can't afford to buy you presents. I'm sure you'll get something from your mother. Different woman, my first wife. But as far as having a big Christmas here at the house, it just isn't going to happen this year. And I know it was my Christmas to have you kids at home, but if you want to go and have Christmas with your mom, I understand, because it's a wreck. It was one of the most heartbreaking things I ever had to do, was to set my kids down and tell them, this year there will be no Christmas. And my daughter says, well, can we at least get a tree? Can we at least get a tree and we can decorate with decorations? And I was like, honey, you don't understand. I'm going to be struggling to feed us. And there's just no way I can afford to pay $30, $40, $50 on a Christmas tree. And she's like, okay, well, our Christmas stuff is in the attic. Do you care if I go up and get the Christmas stuff and decorate for the house for Christmas anyway with what we have? And I'm like, no, go ahead, do that. That's wonderful. So her and my son go up into the attic of our rented house and to get our Christmas decorations. And so I'm like, I don't know what they're going to hang them on. There's no tree. And I thought about illegally cutting a tree and everything else. And so anyway, while they were up there, they weren't up there no time till I heard them clambering back down the ladder and running out and jumping up and down and clapping their hands. And they're like, Dad, you're never going to believe it. There's a Christmas tree, a brand new, never opened, lighted Christmas tree in the attic. And I'm like, wow, it must have been left there by a previous tenant. And so I called the landlord and I said, there's a couple of boxes of stuff and a Christmas tree up in the attic. He goes, I don't know anything about it. If the people left it there, it's yours. Enjoy. So I was like, wow, we got a Christmas tree. So I had them bring it down, set it up, and we got a free Christmas tree that year. That was Christmas miracle number 1. Now, their mom understood my situation, and she kind of predicted that this woman was going to treat me this way. And so she was really, my kid's mom was really good about making sure that my kids had a very good Christmas, and they got lots of presents, and they afterwards said they didn't feel slighted at all. Now, the other thing was, I really didn't have groceries for the end of the month, that I was so relying upon her that I'd paid all the bills for December, but I had nothing really to feed the kids. And I could go to the state and beg and try to get food stamps, or, at this point, at that point, things had gotten so rough for me that really, I didn't have anything to sell. I really didn't have anything to sell. Everything was in the pawn shop already. And so I didn't know what to do. And I guess it was the next day after now I lived in the country, mind you, and I do hunt. Now, if you are not a hunting fan, you might want to just tune out. But, God put these animals on this earth, I think, for us to use as food when we need to. I'm not a big person on going out, and I don't believe in hunting for sport, really. I hunt for meat. But I lived on acreage, and I could hunt on my own property there in that rented house. It was in the middle of 40 acres of land, even though all I really rented was just the house and the grounds right around the house. But there was all this land I could hunt on. And so I think it was the day after we found the Christmas tree, I got up, couldn't sleep. I got up right at daybreak and made some coffee, and I walked over to the end of the house, and I looked out the window, and there was in my hayfield there outside my window a whole herd of deer. They were just standing there in the early morning daybreak light. So I had a deer license, and I had a tag for 2 does and a buck. And so I went back in to the bedroom, and I got my rifle, and I snuck out in my robe and slippers onto the front porch, and I crawled on my hands and knees till I got to the corner of the house where I could get a clear shot from the porch. And I shot the nicest, biggest buck in that group, and we had venison to eat. Not only that, God saw fit to have that field filled with deer until my tag was filled, and I put up meat until my freezer was filled. And my son hunted on the family land that I lost in the divorce, which was out west of Dallas, out in that Weatherford Mineral Wells area, and and he had a tag, so he killed 2 deer in Weatherford, and I killed 3 deer and tagged out. I killed a buck and 2 does, and I'd never seen wild hogs in my yard, in my property before, but that year I saw wild hogs, and I killed one of those too. They actually eat really, really good. I was surprised. It's just as good as, it's better than store-bought pork for sure, and better for you. So I fed my kids through that hard winter until I could get back on my feet and my knee could get healed, because God sent these animals nearly into my yard, like He just gave them to me. I'd always been a hunter, and I'd always killed a deer here or there, but between me and my son to kill 5 deer and a hog, we had enough meat for almost an entire year for our family. So We had a Christmas. We got the miracle Christmas tree, and God provided this meat for my family, and I never had to go and get any kind of welfare or food stamps, and other than their mom helping them out a little more than usual for Christmas, my kids barely felt it. And we still have the miracle Christmas tree, and although this year I didn't go to the storage unit and dig it out, but in years past, we've used it over and over again because the landlord said we could have it. But yeah, if you ever have an extra Christmas tree, just leave it in the attic of the rental house you're moving out of, and maybe some family that needs it might find it. But this is the kind of thing that happens to me on a regular basis. And this is what I mean when I say God takes care of me. And many of you want to donate and give money to me and my channel and to do, want me to do the things that other people do. But I really don't need to. If I did need to, I would. But as of right now, God takes care of me, even if he has to resort to miracles to do it. All right, we'll see you next time, and Merry Christmas from down by the river.